Welcome to Come and See, your podcast for finding truth in a world of chaos. Brought to you by All for Jesus Living Waters Ministry. With host and founder Richard Case and co-host and retreat leader Kathy Ricconi. Today is our special guest day, where we will hear from a friend of the ministry who will share their insight and stories on truth in this chaotic world. And now your host, Richard Case.
Well, welcome everybody to Guest Thursday. We have very special guests because they're friends of Kathy, Kendra, and Nathan. Live in Massachusetts. Where do you live in Massachusetts, actually?
Haverhill.
Is that near anything that we know?
Like, it's right next to the
Over
border.
the border.
Right
Yeah.
the border in New Hampshire.
Oh,
So
okay.
as soon as you leave New Hampshire, you hit Haverhill. It's the
Find us.
Yeah, it's the biggest town north of Boston.
Okay, great.
Oh, there's the accent.
There it is.
You'll hear it.
Boston.
Yeah.
Park the car too far. Yeah, we got that.
Yeah.
So it's really great having you. And Kathy, they're good friends of yours, and they know you since that's why they're in your studio. So
Yes, I am excited for everybody to get to meet Kendra and Nathan. They are, as I've told you, two of our favorite people. We have known them for over 12 years living here, and they are actually an essential, central part of our team for doing Abide retreats. Nathan does everything food, and Kendra assists him in that, and then also major prayer warriors in the midst of the whole thing. And I truly were spoiled to have the two of them as part of our team when we're doing the retreats, and everyone absolutely loves them.
great. So you guys do all the cooking, dinners and all that?
Yep.
I do what he tells me to do because I can't cook.
So he's the chief, and you just follow him around. Right?
I do whatever he says, and it works out great. Yeah.
What's
Made a good team.
We did.
What's been the funnest thing you prepared for a retreat?
Oh, good question.
That's a good question. I don't. It's all fun to me because it's food.
Yeah.
So food's just fun to do. It's just turning. I guess would be turning our dinners and our lunches into something else, into a breakfast or into a lunch or into another dinner.
Yeah.
So he takes leftovers from a meal. This is one of his greatest gifts because
It's amazing.
Not everybody can do this, I don't think, but he will take what was left over and just, repurpose it for a whole different meal, and nobody knows the wiser.
Yes.
But it's fascinating what
literally
you can do.
whatever dinner before will be
Yeah.
in this creative breakfast spread the next day, or the chicken will turn into this chicken salad for sandwiches.
Yeah, and you'd never know.
And he is a master at
that's
it,
cool.
and he has it all down. It does all of it. It's amazing.
To a science.
That's cool. And the key to that is you don't tell anybody, right? So they just
That's right.
Wow,
We just
look
let
at
the
this.
secret
Look at
out.
all the work you did.
Everything looks new.
I just did leftovers. I just did leftovers. Well, that's great.
It's incredible.
Well, first of all, for the audience to get to know you, why don't each of you share, how did you come to know Christ in your lifetime? Kendra, we can start with you and just share with us, how did that happen for you?
Sure. So Nathan and I, and our stories overlap actually, because we both grew up Catholic. I went to a Catholic school my whole life. We both got married in the Catholic Church, and we actually lived next door to a little country church, and literally next door. And one day, a new church plant showed up, and Nathan has a couple stories around that, but I went to the first service they had in the neighborhood, right? The neighbors kind of came and supported. And it was not long after that I got saved. And really, I always believed in Jesus as my savior, but it wasn't a personal relationship with Christ until really that church experience. And then shortly after that, got baptized. And then Nathan, he would sort of read the newspaper on Sundays while I went to church. And he would also do a lot of yard work that was very loud and disruptive, I'm sure, to the church service. Yeah,
on purpose. There was tell you some of that.
Yeah,
Great.
Lots of prayer went into that, and it was probably 3 months after my baptism that he went to a Lord's Supper, and you can probably take it from there.
Yeah. So we had 3 different churches that were there before this church came in, and I wasn't always the nicest person in the world. So, I kind of
So
rented the biggest.
you weren't taking them extra dinners and leftovers and
No, no, I wasn't. I was trying to find out the biggest piece of power equipment that I could find to use on Sundays during their service. So that wasn't very nice of me, and I know that now. But when I was young and didn't really understand that.
Yeah.
So yeah, like she said, new church came in. Pastors came over and introduced themselves to us, and I wasn't having it. Even when she said she was going the first service, I was like, go ahead, you can go. I'm not going. I'll be over here. And that probably went on for like 3 months. And then it came down to a Sunday service. She said she was thinking about singing at. And I was like, well, if you sing, I'll go. I'll watch, So I went to that. It was interesting. And then later on that day was a Lord's Supper. And during that Lord's Supper, it just pierced me. I couldn't take it any longer. I went home and they went to bed. I stayed in the office downstairs and pretty much cried myself to, so.
Now, he left out a part of the story that I feel like he needs to share because in the midst of this, of him deciding to come to the church, was some really good pastor. Well, I don't know if just service hearts, servant hearts by the leadership at the church.
So the two pastors there were wonderful. They came over and introduced themselves. They came over and introduced us and asked us to come over for a barbecue. And then they came over again and said, if we can do anything for you and all that. And at that time I was renovating our bathroom, and I had a tub in my backyard that I was actually planning on just burying.
A cast iron
tub.
That was very heavy.
A very heavy
tub.
cast iron.
I can imagine.
And I said, and because I really wasn't saved then, I was like, you can take the tub. And they took the tub, and I still can't believe that they took the tub to help. They two little guys, and they took the tub.
They did.
But I think they're consistent demonstration of
Yes.
God's love to you, regardless of what you put up in their face, really went a long way, I think, in softening your heart as well.
It did.
Wow, that's beautiful. And you were both married at that time, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
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 We were
that's amazing.
Yeah.
3 or 4 years in?
Yeah. 3 or yeah.
Our
son was 4.
Our son was 4. It's like 7 years in. We've
Okay.
been married at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about that piece of it. How did you meet each other, and why did you guys decide to get married?
Well, we met back when meeting online was not
Appropriate. So we met in an AOL chat room.
Yeah. Which I did not tell my parents for a very long time.
Yes. So, yeah. Basically, I just
You just said we met in a room, right?
Yeah. So I put up a rose on the little chat room and said, "A rose for all ladies in the room," and she answered. So
Well, but let me say, as an HR professional, I have a set of interview questions that everybody would have to answer to be moving through the process. So, and the good news was we both worked in downtown Boston. He worked in the Prudential Center. I worked in the John Hancock Tower, and we met one day after work in downtown Boston, and, had a great walk through the Boston Garden, and it was nice. We had fun. So, and the rest is history, really.
9 months later, I asked her to marry me, and that was it.
So you dated for 9 months, and
Yep.
And when you guys were in the same town, right?
No, she was actually, I was in Haverhill and she was living in Seekonk.
By Rhode Island.
So
I would commute an hour and a half north to Boston to work.
Yep.
He would commute an hour and a half south to Boston to work. And so Boston was really our meeting place and where we would spend a lot of time,
Yeah. And what attracted you to each other to decide, I'd like to spend the rest of my life with you?
Okay, I was gonna say something inappropriate, but that let me just say
that's okay. We've had many guests do that, so that's no problem. Go ahead.
He looks great in a chef coat, and he made dinner the first night. It was very nice. So I think for me, it's his servant heart. It is his like the protector and the caretaker. I'm gonna cry. I cry a lot.
It does.
I do, but that's okay. But yeah, but Nathan has always been ready before me to do everything. He was ready to propose. He was ready to get married. He was ready to have kids, everything. He's always faster. He's faster with everything. And I catch up eventually. So I'm just a little slower, but yeah. So the 9 months, I was shocked and surprised at that. But yeah, it was the best decision I ever made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. How about you, Nathan? What was your attractiveness to her?
It was just very easy to talk to her and very easy to be with her. It just felt natural. It didn't feel like it, you're trying to force something. Everything was just natural to do it with her.
Yeah.
Whether it was, and we just hang out. It was just, driving around the beaches and back roads and hanging out and talking. So it was very easy. And that's, and then it did come down to my father saying, when are you going to put a ring on her hand? Because if you let her go, then you're a fool. So,
That's funny.
That's great. And how many years have you been married now?
20. Okay, it's 2001, April 28th, 2001. It shouldn't be hard.
20 years.
Basic
20
math.
years. Yeah.
I do people, not numbers.
Right,
I'm sorry.
Right. Oh, 20 years. That's great. And how many children do you have?
We have two. We have an 18-year-old and a 13-year-old little girl.
Yeah.
I still call her little.
I know.
Yeah.
Both of whom I had in children's ministry for years
Oh,
when
cool.
they were young. So in our early years of knowing each other, I had both their kids in children's ministry. It was fun.
And the 18-year-old is getting ready to move on to college. What's he or she doing?
No, he's never going to move out.
No. Yeah, no.
It's
okay.
He's on his way to be an electrician. He graduated from a technical school in Massachusetts. So he already graduated a bunch of hours. He's doing apprentice work, and he's going to school at night for the rest of the work he's got to get done. So he's doing great. I mean, we can't complain. He's got a good head
he's
on his shoulders.
Good boy. Yeah.
He's a good kid.
And he's doing what he's enjoying.
Yeah.
He loves
He's
it.
passionate
Yeah,
about
he
it,
loves it.
Well,
Yeah.
Kathy, this is something you don't know, but I was an electrician.
Really?
When I was in high school, between my junior and senior year, my dad had a neighbor. He was actually the union. This is in Chicago, Illinois. He was the union boss for the electricians,
oh wow.
deal. And he said, "Hey, you wanna become an electrician and learn to be an electrician as at least an apprentice?" Yeah, sure, why not? It pays really well. So
That's funny.
So they sent me to downtown Chicago, and it was in the post office, and we wired the first electronic mail sorting machines in the world.
Oh, you're kidding.
That's awesome.
And my job was to help do that. And they were about 80 feet long and about 10 feet wide, and then each of them had a console. At that time, they started the zip coding process. And so, but it was a manual, semi-manual, so that our sorting machine would put the document in front of the person. They would punch in the number, and then it would put it in a bucket.
Oh wow.
Funny.
And we wired. I got electrocuted once.
Oh no.
I was inside the machine, and I forgot to tell somebody, and they turned the machine on, and I got zapped with that's why my hair is fuzzy.
So much, right?
We had a foreman that was he was Polish, and back in '33, we did this, and he was a guy that every day. Well, I was also a golfer, and so I took a Friday off and went golfing, and I called in sick, but he knew I wasn't sick. So he Monday I show up, and he said, "Okay, you're off the electronic sorting machine. You're going to go with this guy here, and you'll spend the day with him, and you're just going to go out and wire stuff." And so I went out with him, and in Chicago, and I got a knife in my back, with a guy that came up and tried to steal money, and he tried to knife me, and the guy told him to get out of here and leave, so he did. And then they took me down to a a Chinese restaurant in Chicago, and the guy says, "You go down and fix the motor." So I go down. In the basement is probably 30 people shelling shrimp and all that stuff, and there's black things in it and all that. And I go to the furnace, and there's probably 2,000 cockroaches all over the furnace. And the guy said, just get them out of the way and fix it, and so I do. And it was a day of complete misery. The next day, I get a call. He said, "Okay, come back to the foreman at the mail sorting machine," which I do. And he says, "Son, don't you ever call in sick again, or you'll be doing that. You'll be doing that. You'll be doing that every day. Or if you don't, you can come back and work on this beautiful new machine." Which I said, "Got it." So I was an electrician like your son's going to become, and it's
That's great.
it becomes really, particularly because he'll go through the apprenticeship, right, and step up into the union, and he'll get paid really well, and he'll actually have a really nice job. So that's terrific. So tell us about your careers as you so you got married, and tell us about each of your careers as you've been through that.
So I've been in cooking or baking my entire life. So when I met her, I was I was managing an Aubon plant at that point. And then once we got married, it wasn't too long after we got married, I moved on to a catering company where we did in-flight catering for all the private jets, which was, to me at that point, was a great job.
Yeah.
So and from there I went to manufacturing. I've worked in every aspect of food there is. So it's been restaurants, mom and pop, hotels, manufacturing, and now I'm in school food service, which is the best gig in all of food.
But you also see it, I think, as a ministry too, right? Like feeding the kids. I think there's an element to that.
I have, my heart is for the kids. I mean, I don't, we hear stories all the time in schools, and even between the both districts I've been in, there's kids that go home and don't have food. And it's, to me, it's, making the kids not feel bad about anything, but really helping them out and sending them home with other stuff and making sure they have something to eat on the weekends and at nights and stuff like that. Because it's not fair, not fair for those kids to feel, shunned or anything like that because they're not able to, or their parents can't afford it.
And in the position that Nathan's in, he is also able to really control the menus that go out. And so the things, it's not what we used to get.
Yeah.
When we were kids, I see the things he puts out, and he's giving these kids healthy, well-balanced and good food. And a lot of these kids don't have, that is the place where they get that, and that's it.
Yeah.
We do where our food is close to what you get at like Panera Bread.
Oh, nice.
Applebee's. That's the stuff we're catering and making menus to for those districts. We don't do that burger and bag of chips. That's what I grew up with. Here's a burger, here's a bag of chips. You want tomato soup?
Yeah.
There you go. It's not that. I mean, well, we've done everything from a beef dish to Indian dishes to sushi to you name it. We've done it.
Great. What's your official role with them?
So I just changed district. So now I'm the nutrition coordinator for Bill Ricker.
Okay. That's great. Sounds like you really enjoy it and you're gifted there. So it's fantastic.
Yeah. I love my job.
Yeah.
Yep. So I can't complain.
That's great. Kendra,
I'm going to brag on him for
ahead.
one more second before he goes on. During COVID, well, I'm just thinking about the hours that you put in. During COVID, one of the things that went on in Massachusetts, I don't know if that happened everywhere or not. It was everywhere?
Across the country, yeah.
Okay, so federally, meals had to be provided for kids throughout the summer even. When school was closed, and they had to coordinate drop-off points and pick-up points to make sure that kids without transportation could still get that food, even though they were remote learning and everything else. And so what he and his team had to do to step up to keep these kids cared for in that time was absolutely incredible. You know,
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yep, there's ministry. One of the biggest lessons I've learned recently, there is ministry in your work.
Absolutely.
Don't shortchange that, right?
No.
Yeah. And so for me, I got a psych degree. I have a master's in HR. And so HR, when I graduated with the psych degree, my father said, "What are you going to do with this?" And I said, "I don't know." But I ended up working in HR. I did recruiting, and I've done what we call like generalist work and business partnering. And a big piece of what I do is employee relations, and the employee relations piece, it's, actually what your boss did with you was wonderful. It's better than any performance improvement plan could do, because he showed you a different option that wasn't as good and changed your behavior, right? But really it's about, for me, developing managers, growing leaders, making sure our employees have a great work experience. But sometimes there are those situations where people may not be in the right role. They may not be using their skill sets and gifts. And really every day I pray, God, help me be your hands and feet. Let me shine your light. And as I do that, as God does, he brings those situations. And, even this week I've had a situation, an employee showed up, intoxicated at work. And of course, that morning was, as I usually do, and then God brings. And, I was able to really minister and have a very, like, a heart-to-heart conversation. And he just called me today, and he's in a facility and getting help, and he sounds so much better.
Oh, beautiful.
And, those are the things where, I'm in the business world, but there's a ministry there, and there's a ministry in the schools. There's a ministry, in everything you do, and the Lord puts you in those places for that.
That's right.
Anyway,
What kind of a company are you officer of, HR executive?
So it is I've usually been in software in that world. This is my first time not being in that world. And they actually make industrial size printers that are printing things like billboards and, just huge signage that would be in theaters and, Fenway and all those kinds of things. So, but they actually also print textiles, like your clothing and leather and, shoes and purses and all those things. So it's amazing what you wouldn't think is printed, but is.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Now, are you both able to work around where you live now, or do you have to commute for very long?
Go ahead.
So I'm about 30 minutes to work right now. So it's a straight shot. So it's actually good, because it's like detox time, and after work coming home, and in the morning it's just me and God. So it's a good time.
Yeah, good.
For me, I've been working at home a lot, which is funny, being in HR, to be able, you're always around people and you're used to that. But, I've been at home a lot through all of this, because our employees have been at home a lot. And then most recently, I've been traveling every other week to Michigan. So we have a site out there that needs some help. And in fact, God opened my eyes to a spiritual battle at that site. And, it's required a lot of prayer and a lot of protection.
And you're seeing a lot of headway.
And we're seeing a lot of headway. So, and it's all God working. So it's been, he just brings you in. It's the partnership. So yeah.
Obviously, being with Kathy and abiding retreats, you probably have learned about abiding and live it out. Tell us, how does that work for you? How do you personally abide? You can each of us share, and then we can talk about together, how do you discern God's will? And you talked about, you get to be part of God's fantastic plan in life and give it away. So share a little bit about that. How does that work for you personally?
Yeah, for me, and I don't know how like nuts and bolts you want to go, but I wake up every morning, I shut off the fan, turn on the light. I'm squinting because it was so dark. I hop right back in bed, and I have a little lap desk I get on my lap, and I have the Bible, my journal, and I use the Blue Letter Bible app on my phone to read commentaries and look at, the words in Greek and things like that. So that is, I start with prayer, and, at the end of prayer, prayer is a two-way street. It's a
Yep.
two-way
Mhm.
dialogue.
Yep.
It's not just me to him. It's being quiet and saying, Lord, what do you have for me today? Which is really the most beautiful thing that you hear. And I'll ask him where he wants me to read. I've actually gotten to a place where I just about daily, he will tell me where to go and I will go.
Mhm.
And every time he knocks my socks off of when I go, I'm like, yep, there it is. That's the message you had for me. And I journal about that and what I journal the verses that I've read, and I write what it means to me and why those verses struck my heart. And I'll read the commentary about them. And even through the commentaries, I'll write things, that really just, he's speaking a message to my heart through all of that. So, every day it's like waking up, looking forward to what does my father have to say to me? And there's so much love in that. And it's just like beautiful to be with him.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
For me, it's a little bit the same, but I get up, I shower, I get myself going. I go downstairs. As soon as I get downstairs, I go to the kitchen table, and all my stuff is spread across the kitchen table. I know she doesn't like it, but it's all there.
I just clean it up after.
But I go down there and I open the Bible and I start reading where I left off the day before. Once something really talks to me, whether it be a word in the verse or the whole verse, I take that whole verse and write it down, and then I cross-reference it probably too many times, but I cross-reference till it either makes sense to me what he's trying to say,
Yeah.
or it just, okay, now I understand what that word means, and every day for me, like, she goes all, if it's Peter or Revelations, I stay and I'll read the whole book and just see what it's said through the whole thing. And then sometimes I take just words and I'll look those words up through the whole Bible, whether, unity, and just take that word and go through it and see what it says to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, my mornings are, and then my son comes downstairs about the time I'm praying at the end of all that. So he starts making noise. And so then I'm like, you gotta be a little quiet when making your lunch for work. So then I pray, I listen, and anything that's said during that quiet time that I'm just sitting there gets written down. And sometimes those words lead to other places where I have to go dig into the Bible more.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And you mentioned, as you, Kendra, as you were looking at your work, you said you entered into a place where you saw something spiritual going on. Describe that a little bit. What is that? How did that happen? How did you interpret that? How did you follow God into his will for that? That's something that is true, and you're saying you're experiencing it. So help the audience understand, what does that look like for you as you experience that?
Yeah, all right. It's a story. Beware. Okay. So at this particular location, we've had a lot of employees quit. We've had a lot of issues. So I turn up at this location, post COVID for the first time in a year and a half. And all I can say is I actually left. I was there from a Monday to a Thursday. By Wednesday night, I'm in the emergency room with hives.
Whoa.
And I'm in the emergency room with hives in part because of my reaction to everything happening and coming at me. The level of negativity, the level of stress, just the level of craziness I'm experiencing in this like short amount of time. And I think there's a bit of like a reaction to that, right?
A physical response.
A physical response to what's happening. I've had during that week, I had employees say to me, gee, it's like there's this big black cloud over our office and we don't know why. It just feels that way. There's just this negativity and this heaviness. And, if I'm listening, but I don't think spiritual at the moment, I'm just sort of taking in everything I'm getting, which was a lot. And honestly, when I came home, I cry a lot. I was brokenhearted for these people. was just brokenhearted, like a lack of leadership, and a lack of just leadership can lead to employees being so unhappy and so demoralized. So I come home on a Thursday night. On a Friday, he said, "How was your trip?" I couldn't even talk. And I ranted a bit of just, I can't believe the state of things that I found. But I really couldn't process. And even on Monday, I'm on a conference call the following Monday with another Christian woman at work, who there are very few. So, and she's across the country, so we don't even like talk a lot. But she looked at me and she on this conference call, she texted me and said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I'm fine." And I thought nothing of it. She called me the next day and she said, "No, really, are you okay?" And I said, "I'm fine. What's wrong? Why do you ask?" I said, "Did I look that bad?" Like, I must have looked really bad. But she said, "No, you did not look right at all. Like, your joy was kind of stolen. Like, I can just see you're different. You're presenting different." I said, and then it hit me, step one. I said, "Joy, you're a Christian. You have spiritual eyes. You're seeing the heaviness that I have just been through physically on me and the impact it's had." So that was my first step of knowing this is a spiritual issue.
Uh-huh.
And so, I really had to almost like peel it off me because it was heavy and yucky. And get into God presence to bring me, like, just bring me out of that, which he did. And of course, every other week I go back. So I went back and it was a Tuesday morning, I think it was. And I just prayed and I said, "God, tell me what is going on. Why is it this bad?" It's bad. All crazy things happening. And, what is happening? And he just said, "I am bringing you into a spiritual war and I am with you. And you have to pray. You have to pray over the leadership's offices."
It's
I
good.
"You have to pray over the facility. You have to pray walking around." I said, "Okay." So at 6:30 at night, when everybody was gone, I did. You know, I did. And then I continued to pray when I wasn't there, when I'm in the hotel, when I'm home. And then this week, which is like my fourth trip or something, I actually had somebody say to me, "Gee, it feels like the cloud is lifting. It feels like things are getting happier." And it's God, it's the spiritual battle and him opening my eyes to that and me seeking him and to tell me and prepare me for this. And I said to a friend, I feel like I'm a little fish swimming uphill in this whole issue of this facility. And she said, "Kendra, you've got God's power. How can you think you're alone?" Sorry. So anyway, yeah, there's good stuff he's doing, and people are feeling the difference. And I truly believe it's because the joy of the Lord is there.
Wow. And when you heard that, when God told you this is, you're going to enter a spiritual battle, I'm going to be with you, you're going to have to stand. How did that come to you? How do you describe that? Because that's Kathy and I talk about all the time, that listening and hearing and receiving is the beautiful way that God walks us into his will. And and he's got to reveal stuff that we don't know,
Right.
Which he obviously did. How did that come to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to answer that and hard to describe that. I mean, I feel like I have this ability to really hear him well.
Yeah.
I think I don't know how or why, but I do. And I'm very attuned to him. And, you know, when you hear his voice, it's always peaceful, even if it is a rebuke, even if it is something that is a little scary, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Because I was scared when I heard that, but yet there's peace there, and there's a quiet strength, and you know, there's nothing he will ever say that will ever be you know, stressful or angry or, you know, shameful or guilty. I mean, if it's not love, it's not from him, right? Like it comes with love, and it comes with peace, I guess would be the message. But it's a practice. It's a practice to be able to hear him, and to, so part of, I mean, everybody's different, right? But for me, part of what I do, you know, because our minds can wander and our minds can go everywhere. And I have this picture that is in my mind, but I actually asked, we have a painter who's painted everything in our house over the years for us, beautiful paintings. And I found a picture that has been in my mind that she has now painted, so it's real, which I love. But it's the picture of a woman at Jesus's feet, and, you know, really just having the arms stretched out to his feet and just the head down, like, I'm listening, I'm here. And that painting helps, but the mental picture helps. So your brain focuses and you can hear him. And so I would say whatever it takes to focus and to hear him, and it may look different, it may be different for different people, because you just got to practice and find what that is to help you, and then know when it's from him and when it's not, right? Because that's the peace, and that's the yeah, the love that comes with it.
And as a friend, having watched her spiritual growth over all this time,
you have.
It's amazing to watch. It's amazing to watch. But what she's describing here is very much intentional surrender.
Yeah.
You know, her heart, when, you know, and I don't know exactly when all of that started for you, if it started with abiding or started a little sooner, but her heart is to hear from him.
Yeah.
And when our hearts are in that position, we want to hear, we absolutely do. You know, that's, and she has a surrendered heart and seeking.
And he doesn't want to hide. He doesn't want to be a secret. Like, he doesn't want to play hide and seek with you. He wants to talk to you, right?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
You know, because you have to be willing to hear it. And you have to, in our culture and in the speed of life, you know, we have to slow down, and it can be hard, but you have to work at that. Yeah. And it did start with abide. So I will tell you, you know, our lives changed completely after going through that retreat. I mean, that was the spark. And, you know, that is where we learned the skills to hear from him and to spend time with him and to walk in his will. And then it's up to people, just like any, I'll call it any training. As an HR person, we do training, right? And, you know, it is up to people to use the skills and practice and do it or not. Right.
And it totally changes your life. It's, you know, you know, we can say we're Christians before that, but really you look back at it, were we really a Christian, or we were just doing the day-to-day life thing of Christians? But abiding just changes everything. It's the world opens up at that point. You see you see things differently, you hear things differently. It's an awesome thing. Like,
And Nathan, for you, as you've experienced that of God's will in your life, how has that made a difference? And can you give an example of something that you've been involved with that you're walking down the path with God?
I guess mine would be this whole word of teach. He brings it up a lot during all my readings with him. Like, he wants me to teach. He wants me to teach this. And so, and he first brought it up, and opportunities open for me to teach different things. One was a men's group thing we had on a Saturday at our church. Someone had to do a little statement of stuff, and I was like, well, he told me to teach. I'll just raise my hand and say I'll do it. So, but it's not something I look forward. Like, I don't look at myself that way. Like, I don't look at myself as someone to be in the front of the room and teaching stuff. But a lot of things have played out to be that way. And just recently at work, there might be an opportunity that I'll be teaching something at work as well. So, and it's not, I don't believe it's in me, but he does. So I have to make sure I just lay at his feet and follow his lead, because it's for him, not for me.
Yeah.
And again, what's really cool with that is I remember sitting in your living room with our small group, because we had a small group that would gather, and really we had no Bible study curriculum that we were doing or anything else. We would come together, and it's just, hey, where have you been in God's word this week, and what's he speaking to you? And so there was, at least a couple months before any of this teed up, that he presented. He's like, I don't know what's going on, but God keeps putting this word teach in front of me. And each week he'd come and he'd lay out these layers, and we're like, do you see we see where this is going?
Yeah.
Do you see where this is going?
Yeah, I'm a little slow on that part.
Yeah.
But it was so cool, because you watched God prepare his heart for quite a season, honestly, and then unravel how he was going to actually use that and continue to grow you in it. It hasn't just been a dump and run. It's okay, try this and
do this,
he's
one step at a time.
growing him, training him in it.
So
yeah, it's a beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah. And as you both describe it, you actually just said it, Nathan. It's one step at a time.
Yep.
Like what you're involved in with this place you're visiting, Kendra, is, well, the story's not over yet. It's one step at a time. And
That's right.
let me show you the next thing and the next thing. Why? And it's obvious, you both have great joy in that. Why does it bring you joy that, well, you don't have to figure everything out. Let's just go one step at a time. Why does that bring you so much joy? Because it's obvious it does. So.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just, how do you not want to spend time with your creator?
Yeah.
Who loves you so much, right?
Yeah,
it's and I cry. I shouldn't cry. It's joyful, right?
It's that moment in time when you're reading his words that are put in the Bible. That time alone with him is just, I can't even explain it. It's a feeling. It's joy. It's all those things, and you're learning, and he's guiding you through your life for that stuff.
It's the living word.
Yeah,
it's the living word.
Yeah.
It comes alive.
And for me, most of the year up here, my reading is done when the sun rises. So it just makes it all, feel that much more better to me. I mean, when that sun hits the window and warms you up, it's like, okay, that's God warming me up. That's not, that's his word warming up. It's not the sun. And so it's a special time.
Yeah. Yeah. And Kendra, you've described this situation. As you look at it, why do you know that God is up to something and it's gonna fulfill something? There's a story there. You actually said it. There's a story. It's not over yet. Why do you know it is going to continue to be developed and that you get to be part of that? He's actually using you to do that. What's your perspective on that as you see the situation that you're facing? Well, I'm in the middle of that story. I don't know the end of it yet, but I do know it's going to be God's fantastic answer. So.
Yeah, I mean, because I've seen him do so many things, right? I mean, look at the beginning of our time with you and Nathan talking about how he was with the church, right? And I mean, you watch the power of God transform your life and your heart and your mind.
Yeah.
And he's always creating.
Yeah.
As long as you hang out with him, he's always creating and making you new, right? And he's evolving you and growing you. And that growth is continual as long as you stay connected to him. And so the story, he is working all things for good, like he is. And it may not feel that way in the moment. And so, when you're in the nuts and bolts of it and you're in the moment, it can feel raw and ugly and hard and all those things. But there's all a refinement, a purpose, there's ministry in all of it. There's love in all of it, and there's chances for you to shine his light, his love to others through it, right?
Yeah.
So you got to look through the hard, but look through his eyes, that this is not just the moment you're in. This is something he's got planned, and you are just a part of it, and you have to stay connected to him through it to get through it. you've got to stay connected.
You got to trust him in that moment.
The faith.
It's just trust. It's trusting him.
Yeah.
No matter how bad it is, you got to trust him.
Yeah. He will bring you through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Kathy, you've been around him quite a bit. How would you kind of weigh in on your perspective of what God is up to with them? Because you've got to kind of watch it.
Oh yeah. First of all, let me just say everybody needs a Nathan and Kendra in their life. But that is, when you guys in the audience have heard me talk about community and how important that is in my world, this is part of that. Knowing that at any given time we can text these guys or have them over to talk or go over whatever, and know that if we want to be abiding on something, that this is a group that we can do that with. And so it's been a huge blessing to us, just to watch them grow and to come alongside and to be in community with them. But it is incredible. I mean, you're only seeing like the tip of the iceberg of what God is doing in these guys' lives. The positions that he has put them in, both in their church and in the work, and just the relationships that he's surrounding them with. Talk about being blessed to be a blessing. They are continually giving it away. And giving it away, and I believe being prepped to give it away even more. It truly has been just a beautiful thing to watch, and I feel so blessed to get to have them on our team. But yeah, I mean, they're going to be taking it through their church and teaching it to everybody. Kendra does all kinds of stuff with this program called Place, and she has beautifully woven abiding into that. And so the number of people that she is able to touch and to teach abiding to, just in the circles that God is putting her in, and then Nathan in his role as a deacon and in several other places, just also they're being placed in influential positions to ready the bride, and really to teach people to abide. And it's cool.
And as we end our time together,
they know it.
As we end our time together, maybe each of you could just give a brief perspective on why in your community, because Kathy's obviously excited and you're excited. What is it about how that community functions that so stimulates the joy of being together? Well, how would you describe that? Because Kathy and I have tried to talk about the importance of community and how sweet it is. What do you see about why it's so sweet?
Yeah, you both look at me. I don't know.
I'm trying to think of it. That's a tough.
It's a big question, right? But I mean, I'm just trying to think and just reflect a little bit. But there's this level of connectedness that is not. It's hard to describe, because there's the one common thread we have of Christ, right? And but not just that. It's much deeper than that, because she can text about something, or I can text about something, but yet like the Lord has laid something on her heart to pray about, and that's true in our marriage too. And, that level of connectedness, that level of depth of trust and vulnerability, and knowing that there are people who are working toward the same relationship with Christ that you are. Your hearts are for the same thing. And like trusting what they're hearing from him. And it all works together. Like it's like puzzle pieces coming together, that if I didn't have them who also abided and had that relationship, I'm missing big pieces in my life, like confirmation on things, challenging me on things. It's something that you don't get in every relationship, a depth.
Right.
And like a true sisterhood.
Us guys are not that good at texting back and forth each other, but she said it pretty much on point. I mean, it's that ability to know that you can pick that phone up and you can send a text. Hey, I'm having trouble with this. Can you please pray for this? And then it's the whole working together, and there's really, I can't describe it enough. I don't know what words to put there, but
it's deeper than a typical friendship. I agree. There's a depth there that only God, it's this deep Christ connection that weaves you together because you're abiding together on things, or that you can call the other person with difficult decisions and they'll abide with you, and you find that unity right in these relationships.
I mean, it comes down to the first time we went on the Abide retreat, and we had these lovely people who cooked for us there, and we both looked at each other and was like, we can do that. We should do that.
That was Jeannie and Paul, by the way.
and then Kathy came and asked us, and we were like, we
already talked about it.
We already talked about it. We knew we had to be there. We knew we had to do this. And it was from God for us to do this. I mean, I have a wonderful wife who can't cook, but I can. But she does other things better, presenting things and all that, and it just works out so well with us. And then Kathy and Dan and Rob and Stacy there, it's a beautiful team that's just it's God's gift.
God orchestrated.
It's his gift to other people to take, and we're there to give it to him.
And as you look at as you're describing it, and this is what Kathy and I have been trying to help people with, is that the difference is it's not just a group of people that, well, it's nice being together, but rather you're all seeking God together.
Right.
And because you're seeking God together, which is, something that I'm excited about just listening to you, is I get to share in the excitement of what God's doing in your life.
Right.
That thrills me. Because it's supernatural. It's amazing work. It's what we all get to experience because we all have a heart to do that. And that's what's the specialness about the community. And the sweetness that just keeps getting more and more amazing because you're seeking God and you're seeing God at work, and you got to share that with us, and we so appreciate it. And Kathy, I don't know if you want to kind of summarize anything about the community or something that you'd like to say as we finish. You have any thoughts about why this community is so special and sweet?
I've shared so much on community before, but it is just, it's absolutely essential. And honestly, as Rich and I talk about abiding and discerning God's will, and we talk about, good times, end times Fridays, we talk and that sort of thing. I cannot imagine navigating this world, one, obviously without God, but two, without this community. I feel like it is a God-given gift to help clarify things. Even, Kendra and I on the text string, and I know the guys don't do it as much, but they still talk. But the ability to speak into each other and to ask the questions that another friend wouldn't ask, and to feel safe to answer, and to know that whoever you're talking to on the other end of that is actually wanting to hear from God, hearing from God, and is going to hold their tongue if they're not saying something that's from him.
Right.
That's a gift.
Yeah.
That is an incredible gift, to trust friendships like that, who truly just have, it's like the friendships we have with you and Linda.
Yeah.
We know when we're in conversation with y'all, one, it's going to be joy. Two, we're going to see God do incredible supernatural things. And three, you're going to be real with us.
Yeah.
And we don't need people telling us what we want to hear. We need people helping us get to God's feet, and especially if we're struggling through something.
Yeah, let's go together.
And so it's just a beautiful gift that we have been given, and I would desire that for everyone, to be able to find friends like that and to cultivate those friendships.
Yeah. Well, it's a joy to hear your story and to be part of it and to see your community. We get to see a little bit of your community because we can see how you guys act together, and it's really fun. And we encourage you to grow. We're looking forward to having you back. We'd love to hear about the story about what happened at the company, and then the fact that God said to you, Nathan, well, I'm gonna guide you into teaching. And you said, well, just let me be cook. Let me be the cook. And he says, well, I'm going to have you be cook and I'm going to have you teach. So let's go. Buckle up, son. Let's go.
That's right.
It's going to be a ride.
That's going to be fun to hear. So we look forward to having you back. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Kathy. I can see why you've talked about the beautiful community, and we can see it and experience it. And so we're excited. Kathy, we'll see you tomorrow on Good Times Friday. And we'll have you guys back. Thank you so much for being part of what we're doing, and thanks for sharing your heart.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
And thanks for joining us, everyone, today. I hope you are as blessed by Kendra and Nathan and their stories as we are.
Yeah.
Just exalting God at every corner. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yep, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Come and See, your podcast for truth in a world of chaos. Brought to you by All for Jesus Living Waters Ministry. Send us your questions and comments, and tune in tomorrow for more answers to your personal questions about living life in God's truth. Remember, God's will is best and none better. His truth brings peace in this world of chaos.